It says 6:59 on the TV. It is time to roll. Everyone's ready. I don't know what's gotten into us, but we're ready and folks are here. Good morning, everybody. I am Kate, the immediate past president. I will call the meeting to order. I'd love to share who's in the room and give less time to hop on as Inspirator. He is joining us. Who's in the room? We have Beth, Len, Mark, Darcy, myself, Mary, Maggie, Carol, Steve, Jill, Mike, and Mike Licata and Dave Licata. On Zoom, we have Nancy Ferry, Dave Channon, Margot Bittner, David Jones, and Mike Florio. Excellent. And then we have Mark Johnston is also here today. I have a couple announcements. Again, I'll give Les a moment, but then oh, bravo. So he'll be joining us in a moment. My announcements, I have 3 Toastmasters dates announcements, and I'll put them in email also. Coming up for our incoming officers, I'll do these in chronological order. Incoming officers, we have training coming up June 7th. Saturday. I know a lot of you are already attending. That's the in-person training in Rochester. That's awesome. They're taking their Saturday morning and driving out to Rochester to get trained as officers and earn us that point towards President's Distinguished. Anybody who cannot come in person, I cannot. I'm working that Saturday. There's a Tuesday evening option for officer training as well. So let's get this first round done and get all of our officers trained. If you have questions, let me know. Next up on the docket will be a busy June 19th. On Juneteenth, Thursday, we will do our officer installation. It's our second to last meeting because, again, we'll go all the way through June here in person, and then we'll switch to Zoom only for July, August, and resume back in September. But Juneteenth will be our officer installation, and then since some folks have a holiday, we are going to go to Knead the Dough for breakfast after. Just like last year when we had an end of our in-person meeting celebration with Knead the Dough, a wonderful breakfast place. Again, Juneteenth, that's out in Ransomville, so plan for the time. I will put that in our, like I said, email. And then Eric has put out about that outgoing, incoming officer lunch. But everybody's always invited. And this year, instead of being at New York Beer Project, we will, for the 5th year, do this in a row and do it at Big Ditch in Lockport here along the Erie Canal. So that's an awesome move over to there. And we also have Sylvia in the room right now. And it looks like we have Les on Zoom. So Les, would you be prepared to give our inspiration?
Yes, Katie. Well, good morning. Good morning, everybody. For a brighter, inspirational start to your day, remember these words. You are braver than you believe and stronger than you seem and smarter than you think. Focus on being grateful, staying humble, and keeping a positive outlook. Remember, attitude is a little thing that makes a big difference. Embracing the day with a smile and a determination to make it a good one.
Bravo. We don't always clap after the inspiration. That's definitely worth an applause. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of
the
United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Any other announcements from the floor?
How about happy birthday to Steve Smith?
Happy birthday to Steve Smith. And Joe Budnick is also here. Okay, so that's exciting. Excellent. I will hand the meeting. Let's see, we're just taking care of some housekeeping. I am so intrigued by this lineup of props that I see for a coming speech. So can't wait to hear it. Okay, I would love to introduce my mom, Beth, today giving our Toastmaster of the Day theme with Quebec City.
Good morning, everyone. It is not technically just Quebec City, but it is the connection Quebec City has to Memorial Day, and particularly to World War II. And Operation Quadrant. Operation Quadrant. Operation Quadrant was the code name for the Allied First Quebec Conference. It was attended by the Canadian Prime Minister, it's either L or I, I've seen it two different ways, Mackenzie King, President Franklin D. Roosevelt, and British Prime Minister Winston Churchill, together with their political and military staff. I did look up that information. You do not want to know all the staff they brought with them. Oh my goodness. The conference was arranged to decide matters of short and long-term importance to the two Western allies. Matters which someone decided they would be excluding the USSR and China. I found that very interesting in my research. At the quadrant, plans were discussed for the invasion of France. So Quebec City was very important in the invasion of France, in what we have come to know as D-Day. The Normandy landing was planned at Quebec City in Le Chateau Frontenac. I found that very interesting, and I found it appropriate because we did just honor our veterans killed on Memorial Day. On June 6th, the Normandy landing, 156,000 Allied soldiers landed on the beaches of Normandy. On Monday, we honored the 4,000 troops that were killed that day and any of the veterans that were killed throughout. I'm going to introduce my roles now. My WAG master and our master, we have a combo role today. Maggie and Mary Cavanero, would you come and explain your roles today?
Oh, yeah, I'll go first in case you want to use the word.
You're right.
So, je me souviens. If you've ever been to Quebec or ever seen Quebec license plates, you see on the back of the Quebec license plates, je me souviens. And that means I remember. And it means I remember, and it's meant to mean their culture, their heritage, and their roots. It's important. We have Remembrance Day in Canada, and that's to honor our war vets. And we have Memorial Day in the United States to do the same. The first Memorial Day was held on May 1st, 1865 to honor, and it was put together by freed Afro-American slaves who fought in the war to memorialize the Civil War vets. And now includes all vets from all wars. So the word of the day, and so of course, souvien is the derivative of the word souvenir. And something that we will take from places we go to remember things. So our word of the day, and I'm going to follow in Kate Orr's footsteps on this, and is two words. And our words are remember and souvenir. And as my role as grammarian, I will be listening for language, grammar, not specifically grammar, both good and bad, and I'll report at the end of the meeting. Thank you. Mary.
I'll be collecting the odds and ums during the meeting. I'll report at the end of the meeting.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Did Tracy get on? Okay, Tracy Farrell, I have you as the jester. Do you have a jest for us, Tracy?
I do, Madam Toastmaster. I have a few little jokes just so you can remember Memorial Day. So the first one, and they're bad jokes. Let me just warn you now. What's the favorite thing coworkers will say amongst themselves before leaving? See you next Tuesday. Which month do soldiers dread the most? Absolutely March. Okay, and this is the final one, I swear. Why are there no knock-knock jokes on Memorial Day? Because freedom rings. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Tracy. Oh my. Yes, some of our jokes are interesting, aren't they? Moving on to our timer for today. Whoop, I missed Darcy. Sorry, Darcy, I will not miss Darcy. Darcy Colby is our quote master.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. We have to remember birthdays, so, and you know that I would rather come up here and sing than I would to talk. So let's sing happy birthday to Steve. Ready? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Steve. Happy birthday to you. All right. Very good. Very good. Now, you know I take liberties and what's that? Oh, thank you for asking. Leather and Lace will be at the Beachcomber on Canisius Lake tomorrow, starting at 6:30. All right, let's get serious here. It was awesome. I had so much fun. People I hadn't seen, a group of people I hadn't seen in 35 years. That was awesome. And another girl that I've known for a long time. She's a sweetheart. And my cousin was there, and his old girlfriend that I used to, well, never mind, used to go out and drink with. Anyway, when I was young and stupid. Okay, well, it's still old and stupid, but that's right. All right, so it's that time of year again to plant your garden. And if you're not sure what to plant, I have a few suggestions for you. Plant 3 rows of peas. Peace of mind, peace of heart, peace of soul. Plant 4 rows of squash. Squash gossip, squash indifference, squash grumbling, and squash selfishness. Plant some lettuce, 4 rows of lettuce. Let us be faithful. Let us be kind. Let us be patient. And let us really love one another. No garden is complete without turnips. Turn up for meetings. Turn up for service. Turn up to help one another. To conclude our garden, we must have 3 times. Time for faith, time for family, and time for friends. Water freely, with patience, and cultivate with love. There is much fruit in your garden because you reap what you sow. Madam Toastmaster.
Very impressive. I thought she was doing a speech this morning when she brought all this in. Quote masters. Beautiful. Very good. Now we will move on to David Jones, our timer for the day. David?
Thank you, Madam Table Topics Toastmaster. And good morning, fellow Toastmasters, and if we have any guests. Today is the timer. I will be using the backdrop, the green, the yellow, and the red. Speeches are usually 5 to 7 minutes. Table topics, I believe, are 1.5 to 2 minutes, although our agenda says 1 to 2 minutes, so 1.5 minutes for the green, and then evaluations 2 to 3. I'll report when called upon. And if everybody makes their time, they have the chance for a souvenir, which would be a little ribbon. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, David. Our quiz master for today is Mike Florio, who is online. Michael?
Good morning, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. It's good to be back. I've been traveling around a little bit. I will be your quiz master this morning, testing what you remember. There's no souvenir when we're done, but at least we'll test your knowledge and have a little fun. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Mike. And to make sure I don't forget, I am going to now introduce our general evaluator for the day, Nancy Ferry.
Thank you, Beth. Glad to be here this morning as your general evaluator. And my role this morning is to evaluate the evaluators as well as give a general response to the flow of the meeting and how well we did as Toastmasters this morning in keeping time and introducing and those kind of things. So looking forward to it, and I'll report back at the end of the meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. We will now move on to our table topics for the day. And our table topics master today is Steve Smith. Well, happy birthday. You get to do table topics. Love it. Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks for that wonderful serenade. Now, I wasn't sure exactly where she was going with her topic of the day, which turns out to be quite interesting. So I just zeroed in on Memorial Day. So we'll be thinking about that. I do have a list that I've been keeping track of who's available and who's got a job. So try to be orderly about this. Well, let's see. Right at the top of my list, for some strange reason, is Dave Licata. And remember to use the word of the day. Dave, what did you do on Memorial Day?
Mr. Table Topics Master, thank you so much for that question. It seems that my mother's side of the family, which I refer to as the Conlins, my mother's maiden name was Conlin, maybe we have gotten together for Memorial Day, 4th of July, and Labor Day picnics for maybe 70 years. My wife's family, on the other hand, isn't that tight. And we have proof, and Michael, this stays in this room, we have proof that they don't even get along sometimes. But last Memorial Day, oh, that's right. Isn't he cute? He's so cute. So anyways, her side of the family decided they wanted to get together for Memorial Day. And this is in 41 years of marriage. This is the first time they've raised their hand. And the gentleman that was hosting lives on the Niagara River, dead between Niagara Falls and North Tonawanda. And he's got this little taverna out the backyard. Even though he's of Polish extraction, he has this Italian taverna in the back, like all good Italians turn their garage into bars. So my son and I, Paulie, who likes to fish, we look at this gentleman and we say, "Hey, you fish?" And the gentleman says, "No." And Paulie and I said, "Let's get out of here." He's living on the Niagara River and he doesn't fish. But it was interesting. And I'll never forget it. I will always remember it. I don't have any souvenirs of that day, except for the fact that I was bewildered why this gentleman, because you pulled in off River Road, got to his garage first, then his house, and then the waterfront property. And he had all these barbecues. Thank you very much, Steve. Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you. That was, yeah, okay. Well, our weekend didn't get off the way we wanted to. We usually have a big yard sale on Memorial Day weekend, but due to the fact that it started raining Wednesday, it didn't quit till Sunday. We didn't do that. So, Carol Ann, did you have any plans that went awry for this past weekend? And don't forget the word of the day. Remember to use remember. Or souvenir.
My daughter Tara usually plans the Memorial Day picnic. Sometimes we've gone to Alcott, but then she's been having it in her backyard. And it was planned for Sunday. Everything was all set. And then I think it was on Saturday, she said the weather was not as conducive on Sunday as it would be on Monday. And it ended up being a beautiful day on Monday. And I like her picnics because she has such a variety of people she works with, friends. Her friend that she's dating right now is a band member. So he had a lot of different band members, and were children from teenagers to a little 1-year-old. And I would like to mention when I've never been to Quebec, but I remember that when I heard about and saw some beautiful movies of it, it was at Disney World when we went, and it was the only country in the World Showcase open at that time. It was in 1984. And it seems that I've never been to Quebec, but it seems like it'd be just a very beautiful city to see. And another thing I remember about that day is the rain. We had our youngest was not quite a year old, and we had to you'd get a new stroller every time because your name would go off of it. And I think my favorite souvenir from Disney is little Figment. It's a little purple dragon, and it's a figment of your imagination is where the name comes from. Mr. Table Topics.
Thank you. Oh, let's go online. I understand Eric is online. If he answers right away. Well, who cares? Are you available, Eric? If not, I'll pick somebody else. Well, having nobody answer, who else have we got here? Joe Budnick, that's right. You're on my list. Joe, tell us about your Memorial Day. And don't forget to remember the word of the day.
Well, I had a nice Memorial Day weekend. I had Friday and Monday off, which was nice. I needed a break, trust me. And I remember my mother was itching to go to the casino, so that's where we went. Friday, we went to the casino. Did I win anything? No. I'm not going to say how much money I bet. We'll just leave that to the imagination. I didn't come home with any new souvenir as far as that went. But it was nice. I sat in my easy chair, drank a lot of coffee, did a lot of reading, and it was really nice. Monday night, my cousin Karen came over, and we had a picnic dinner, roasted hot dogs, had some macaroni salad. She brought some baked beans over, which was really cool. So it was just a nice weekend. We went to the cemetery, put some flowers on the graves of some of our relatives, and I always liked going to cemeteries. Even when I was little, I never found it morbid or scary or anything. I found it vaguely peaceful. Walking and fascinating, looking at all of the dates and the names and wondering, did I ever know these people? You know, and just remembering, you know, the people that we did know that were buried there, but never found cemeteries scary or intimidating or morbid. I always found it very calm and peaceful. So it was a nice long weekend, even though I didn't win anything at the casino, but still, it was nice just to go and just to get out. And hope everyone has a nice upcoming weekend too. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Can we get a word master's report? I'm not sure which one of you is covering it. We need a word master report.
So, no, you're kidding. The word of the day was used by each table topic master. And the participants.
Okay, now we need a timers report.
Yes, all three qualified, Dave at 2:08, Carolyn at 2:16, and Joe at 1:34.
All right, that means you can vote for either Dave, Carol, or Joe Budnak for table topics of the day. And I turn it back over to our Toastmaster.
Thank you very much. When we were in Quebec, one of the things we did was go on a tour. Kate and I, Wally went on the tour. Yes, yes, yes. So we went, Count Frontenac actually was the tour guide for us. So that was very interesting. But on the tour is when we found out some of the things about this conference, then I decided to look up more. This is Le Chateau Frontenac. This definitely is worthy of Prime Minister coming, President coming. So it was very, very interesting to me. I managed to take some pictures of not just the chateau, bring home souvenirs, but of the different pictures that explained the conference really got me interested in the conference, and I looked up more information. During the conference at Le Chateau, following the dinners, the ladies were invited to the Rose Room, where they could socialize and talk, and they could view out of the Rose Room windows the beautiful St. Lawrence. That was really what people thought they were there for. People thought they were there to socialize. So that was very interesting to me. Yes. So that was very interesting. I think then that first conference was the planning, which wasn't known until after the war was over. Even the press corps, maybe the press corps in those days was not as in your face as the ones sometimes these days, but they did not realize what was really going on. They thought it was a big social event also. And that's what they told people about, was the special event. After Normandy, on September 11th, 1944, a second conference was held in Quebec City. That had a code name Octagon. Of course, the math teacher in me, you know, the first code name was Quadrant. The second code name is Octagon. Works for me. I do remember my teaching days. Churchill felt a second conference was vital for political and military reasons. They agreed on Britain's military involvement in the Pacific. If you want to know more about that, there is a lot of information online, but we could be here till noon or so, if I was to tell you all the military involvement. They also decided at that point how Germany could be split after the war ended. So I thought that was very interesting that that first talk was done in 1944 at this conference. As you can see, they had the president there reviewing the documents, a lot of information there. It's really interesting. I will definitely remember my trip here. We're going to move on to our speaking portion of the day. Our first speaker is Margot, I believe. You're ready? Okay. And she will be evaluated by Jill Roaring. So Jill, will you explain about Margot's speech?
Okay, Margot is joining us online as always. We never see her anymore. But she is doing a speech, Understanding Your Leadership Style, which I think Sylvia is doing one of that too. So it'll be interesting to compare what they do, how they blend their ideas. No, Sylvia doesn't want to be compared. Okay, but anyhow, Margot is working in a strategic relationships, and this is a level 2 speech. And we all know what it's about, understanding your leadership style. Let's see what Margot has to say. Her title is Lessons in Leadership. So Margot Sue, there you go.
Thank you, Jill. The first challenge I have with this speech is that it says leadership style in the singular. And I don't think there's an individual out there who has one style. So what I'd like to share with you today are some lessons I've learned about leadership and how it's helped me grow. The first lesson in leadership I learned from Star Trek. Yes, I'm dating myself. But when you think about it, you had Captain Kirk who had to make a decision. And when you look at the episodes, he never could make a decision. He had to first call in Mr. Spock, the Vulcan, very logical. And then he had to call in the doctor, who was very emotional, and think about what they had to say. And every now and then he'd give a call to Scotty, who was very practical. And then finally, with that information, he could make a decision and go forward. So I learned that it's not just my responsibility. I have to ask for input. I also learned about leadership from Gilligan's Island. Think about it. Did the skipper really make decisions? Not at first. He'd delegate. Professor, take care of this. Gilligan, take care of this. Marianne, you go do this. And then eventually the situation would work out. Another leader, captain, but at the same time, very different leadership style. And because of my love of mysteries, I like to watch NCIS. And the original NCIS with Mark Harmon was a yes dad. He was the leader who really didn't communicate overly well, but just assumed you would learn to read his signals. And he wanted people to learn and grow and take the responsibility. So 3 different situations. But then when you look at real life, there's other situations. I had a band conductor, because yes, even as an adult, I played in a community band, who did not believe in a baton. And a baton, for those, when you're in a band, when you're sitting there looking at this baton, it helps you keep in time. But he believed all he had to do was move his little fingers. And that might be fun for me as a flute player in the front row, but I knew that the trombone players in the back couldn't see it. But he believed that he could communicate just by making these little movements. And when we worked with another conductor who used a baton and used more sweeping movements, the band played together and sound better. It just worked out that we could follow along. I also had an interesting lesson in leadership at a recent Lions conference. We had a gentleman who's on the international board who came in, Chris Carlone, and he talked about leading from behind. And his example was your car breaks down in the middle of the road. You're not going to stand in front of the car like a band leader and wave your baton and get people to push the car. You're not going to push it back. You're going to get in the back with everybody else and work together to push it forward. Now, in my younger days, I was a freight train. I could see where we were going. I got on the freight train and I was going. But as I've learned, having a winery and observing these different things, you really need to think about your leadership style. And every situation is different. Individuals are different. And I've learned by having employees over the year, and quite frankly, having children go from children to adults, you need to think about where they are and adjust your style according to them. Because when you look at your entire leadership style, it's not going to fit every situation. So when I think about a situation I'm in, I remember all these little lessons I've learned over the time. Yes, from TV shows. Yes, from meeting people, from some of the Toastmasters speeches I've given. And as I work through all these different parts of my speech, I'm thinking about where I'm going to go next. And so as you go forward from your day, think about these different lessons. And what I'd like to know, is there a TV show or a style that's encouraged you, that inspired you? Let me know. As I say, whether it's Star Trek, where you're working together, Gilligan's Island, where you're delegating, NCIS with its Yes Dad, or learning to actually lead with direction. So I hope you enjoy your leadership adventures, and I look forward to learning about them. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Margot. I like the reference to different TV shows. NCIS has always been one of my favorites. Some of the different varieties I may not like as much, but I like NCIS. That is something that is taped on the television for me. There are a lot of programs taped for my husband that I will never watch. But those of you who know my husband and me, you know, Mike is in the sideline over here laughing at me. Yeah, we don't like the same things, so not going to happen. Moving along, our second speaker, Marty Johnson. Marty will be speaking from Pathways, Level 3, Speech 1, Persuasive Speaking. Marty recently moved and had his home inspected during the process. He has taken to heart the recommendations the inspector presented. This morning, Marty will be there with you. We'll share with you some of the real experiences he encountered. Please listen for perspective as a current or future homeowner. Can you be persuaded by this speech? Michael?
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. That was better than what I could do. I just want to let Mr. Timer know the time is 5 to 7 minutes. Marty Johnson is working. He just finished up his DTM, so whatever he's working on next, we're all looking forward to it. And you have a speech title. This is Marty Johnson. And so, protecting your next important asset. Marty Johnson.
Could I see by a show of hands from everyone in the audience, you prospective homeowners or current homeowners, that you know about water and the effects of water could have on your home? Oh, great. Oh, good. I have a great audience. Thank you. Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, welcome guests. Thank you. Today, specifically this morning, I'm going to share some personal experiences of what I've learned about water and protecting your most valuable asset, your home. As Beth mentioned, I recently had a new home inspected, and I found out one of the main things that water can damage your home. And I don't know about you, but I know many of you probably work as hard, if not harder than I do for your money. So you want to protect your investment, correct? Okay. Well, one of the main things that stood out from the inspector's report was that the downspouts on the side of my house weren't correct, if you might say, correct as in aged or cracked. The downspout that comes off of your house, and usually there's an attachment to it that runs the water away from your house. And you know, you never realize that, and probably until you're a homeowner, but water will find its way to the lowest point. Many of you know that from schooling and science and gravity. And but the point is, water can damage your home, and I don't want to do that because I'm paying hard-earned money for this home. So what I'm going to do today when I leave here, I'm going to go to one of our local retail establishments and purchase a few downspout extensions for my home. And I'm going to protect my most valuable asset, my home. And I'd like to share two other examples that I experienced firsthand. A couple of weeks ago, I had an opportunity to visit with an old friend, Peter, and Peter recently purchased a home in Lockport, and he thought he got a great deal on the home. Little did he know that there was some damage to the basement wall, the foundation, and I saw it and I couldn't believe it. There was a crevice in the wall that you could probably put your arm in, your forearm in like this. And what happened and there was a crack in the wall like a Z, like the Z in like Led Zeppelin. It was huge and I couldn't believe it. And part of the problem was that the wall was covered with paneling. And prior to that, there was a leak from the gutter. The gutter broke and water just found its way down over a course of time into the basement wall. And, you know, the freeze-thaw cycle, similar to our blacktop in Western New York, it freeze-thaws and moves, and it cracked the wall. Well, Peter had the property, the wall, specific wall, and an adjuster come in, a man come in and give him an estimate. And he lucked out because the man that gave him the estimate didn't realize how bad the damage was. It was bad, so bad that on the wall, to reinforce the wall, every so many feet, he had to have straps bolted in on the top. I never seen it. Straps bolted on the top of the wall, the bottom of the wall, and then picture the wall over there. They had to put a double-sized, what looked like a double-sized concrete curb up against the wall to reinforce the wall because it's an older home. And I couldn't believe it. And he lucked out because the man told him, you know, I gave you the estimate and I have to go with this price, but it would have cost thousands of dollars more if I realized what I was getting into. So another example how important it is to protect your most valuable asset, your home. And the third and final example I want to share is with another friend who lived in my old neighborhood, who is a handyman, but sometimes we don't have the time we want to fix things. And over the course of probably the last 4 or 5 years, I drive by it every day and it's in disrepair. And I feel bad for the guy because what happened, I talked to him, I said, what happened to this place, Peter? So what happened to this place? And he said, well, the person that had it before me neglected the broken downspout and went down the door to the basement, along the wall, cracked the foundation, and he tried to do it all himself. I was fairly impressed because it looked like a construction site with a big yellow caution tape on the property, but it was a mess. And to this day, he's not finished repairing it, and it's open, has a tarp on the roof with bricks holding it in place. Half the back of the house is taken apart, and he's trying, but he must have a full-time job and he can't dedicate the time he wants to the place, but it's just a mess. And it just goes to show you the importance of protecting your most valuable asset from what the damage that water can do. So I would like to share a couple tips with you this morning on how you can repair temporarily a gutter that might be leaking. You know, if you can't do it, I'm sure you can find a handyman in your neighborhood, some all-purpose caulk, or for your gutter, they sell many different kinds with a caulk gun to seal those leaks in the gutter temporarily. Another example, if this is the gutter coming off of your house, this is what the extension would do. And it's probably about 10 feet to get it away from your house as far as you can. And I think I might get the flexible type. Then when you cut the lawn, you can move it out of the way of the mower. But I learned a great deal from these other people and from being a homeowner. And I hope that you'll take to heart and protect your most valuable asset, your home, from water and the damage that water can do. So at this point, I would like to see by a show of hands, how many of you learned a little more, or maybe are persuaded yourself to today take a look at your downspouts, take a look at your gutters, take a look in your basement floor, and see if you have any water there. Can I see a show of hands? Maybe a couple more people? Excellent. Madam Toastmaster, remember, protect your most valuable asset, your home. Thank you.
The microphone gets its job quickly between Marty and I here. We have quite a bit of difference, I would say. So excellent, Marty. I'm assuming you're going to need to come and get some more plants from my house if you have a new house to put them at. Marty takes plants that I'm trying to get rid of, so that's good. Our third and final speaker for today is Sylvia Baptiste, who will be evaluated by Mark Campos. Mark.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. Good morning. It is my privilege to evaluate Sylvia this morning. Sylvia is working from the Leadership Development Pathway, Level 2, Understanding Your Leadership Style. The purpose of this project is for the member to identify her primary leadership style or styles. And this purpose is also for the member to share some aspect of their primary leadership style or discuss leadership styles in general. Mr. Timer, the time is 5 to 7 minutes. Please join me in welcoming Sylvia Baptiste with Trying to Understand My Leadership Style. Trying to Understand My Leadership Style, Sylvia Baptiste.
This speech is nothing like Margot's. Margot, your speech was excellent. Think fast. When I say, what is your leadership style? What do you think of, or who do you think of? Who pops in your head? Does anyone? A warrior princess, someone says, well, when someone asks me, what is your leadership style? I go blank. I get that little voice in my head that says, hello, up there, answer this question. What do you mean you don't know your leadership style? I cannot answer this question. And I don't know if it's just like this room, 360 degrees around me. I start seeing all the faces of all the CEOs, all the managers, all the assistant managers that I have had in the past 48 years. 48 years. When I was doing this speech, thinking about that, I have been in the workforce for 48 years. Long. That's long. I need to retire, Mark. It has been full-time jobs, part-time jobs, and just like any other teenager starting out at 17, tops was your first job. And that happened in Niagara Falls. The manager there, no larger than Beth Banks here, little guy, Marty Yates. He was the store manager,
kind of intimidated me a little bit. And I only saw him after school hours when I went into the night shift and weekends, holidays. He was more or less grumpy and leaving by that time. It was 6 o'clock at night. And Marty, I would say, was your direct shooter. He did, I should say, he dealt with his department heads and his assistant directors very direct. But he let them run their departments. And luckily, they were all fairly decent. They did the managing of people below them. So as you could tell, a lot of them came and gone. Marty's more leadership style was to deal with district managers, make sure that store was in clean condition, profits were up, and of course, go golfing with the district people. He loved that. That lasted to about 1987. And then my career in Lockport started. I'm going to name some people, you'll probably know some of them, but this is my personal opinion, how I felt about their leadership. Carolyn Bucalo was the branch manager at the Permanent Savings Bank when I started. And her leadership style was friendly, bubbly, very direct, not easy to approach as an employee, but the customers loved her. And that was her goal. Customer relationship, sell the products that the bank had. You may not even know you needed that product, but she was going to sell you that product if you wanted it or not. And she did very well. She, like I said, was not very approachable for employees, but I did learn to take a few things from her that I felt that was valuable during my years of employment. Be dependable, be available, and you will move up the ranks. Permanent Savings Bank was acquired by Key Bank in 1990, July. And so August, I started with the YWCA. Here you have, I have seen 3 CEOs, many name changes, programs begin, programs end, employees come, employees left. Went from 80 employees when I started, about 80, 145 to 50 when we had the catering crew in the airport, down to 92 today. The first CEO, Mary Carol Murata, she hired me. Loved her to death. Ex-school teacher, you could tell. She was a kid person. She wanted the kids have a safe place. So her legacy was to open the daycare center. It worked for a while. And then as her time was going, she wanted to more delegate. She let her department directors run the departments, and she dealt with the trustees, the board of directors, all the committees, and the volunteers. Great. It was fun working there. And not that it's not fun today, but it was a lot of fun as a first job in Lockport. Then the second CEO, Mary Carol Murata, retires, and the search committee went out and they found Kathleen Grancelli. 20 years at the YWCA. We went from the Young Women's Christian Association of Lockport to YWCA of Niagara to YWCA Niagara Frontier. Boy, she had some ups and downs. And some of the downs were she had to close Mary Carol's legacy, the daycare center. It was very emotional. It was tough, especially that I had a child going there. It was tough. And She had to close the fitness center. She had to close the catering crew because of COVID, and she had to make those decisions. But Kathy's style was direct, but she had you think in a different way, good approaches. Have you thought of it this way? Have you thought of it that way? She would go to Albany and say to them, which they love, what can I do for you? Not say, I need, I need, I need. And that got publicity. It got us into housing. It got us into a different field altogether, education. It got us into children's programs education, universal pre-K, and the kindergarten readiness program, summer camps. So that her style was, but did you think of it this way? Take a breath, step back, and see what happens before you start jumping. Today we have Kelly Diamato, and she has the fortunate, I know I'm going to go over time, but she has the fortunate working with Kathy for the last 4 years. Kelly is a great communicator in writing. I know her verbal skills is going to come up. It's just going to happen. She's only been there for a year and a half to 2 years, I think will be this fall, of CEO. She worked her way up. I hired her to replace me when I retire, and her goal was farther ahead, and I give her a lot of credit. She went for it, and she's doing a great job. She has dealt with the board. She's very transparent, and she'll tell her funders the same thing. And the employees like her. She's very approachable. So she has the mix of Carolyn Buccolo and Kathy Grancelli, and her skills are building. She does need to find her legacy, though. She hasn't had the experience yet of working with parents and telling them that their little angel is really Satan in disguise. So back to my direct leadership style is hard. I guess when I found the Facebook clip the other day of a mom on a weekend, I felt, there it is, that last sentence. Stay out of the hospital, stay out of the newspaper, stay out of jail. That's going to be the transparency of my leadership style. Thank you. Thank you, Sylvia. Very interesting. I like that. Well, while the evaluators work, I will go on. And our timer reports. That's true. Timer, David, can we have a timer's report?
Yes, as Mark Campos says, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Margot came in at 5:09, Marty at 6:46, and Sylvia 9:35. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Okay, thank you. We don't do the word report for speeches, so we'll go on. I thought this was a great picture of the rulers at the time. I had to look up the Earl of Athlone, which in some places was spelled Athlone, so I'm not sure which is right. But he was really the host of the second conference. He was the Canadian Governor General. He was the one who planned the lunches and the dinners that made it look like a big social whirl. And of course, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, Prime Minister Winston Churchill, and the Canadian Prime Minister, who was W or WL or WI Mackenzie King. A lot of power sitting in this conference. They had several of the formal dinners and the formal lunches, and it made everyone in the city believe this was just a big social event. But there were other things going on because the true objectives of both of these conferences, when you're talking about quadrant, when you're talking about octagon, none of that was divulged to the public until after the war. So, last one. So it looks like they're just having a wonderful time and they're getting great pictures. But maybe not. Maybe there's a little bit of subterfuge going on there. I found that very interesting. I didn't go to Quebec City for that. I went to Quebec City because it was on my bucket list. I wanted to return. The last time I had been there was 55 years ago when I was a junior in high school. So that is why I wanted to stay at Le Chateau Frontenac, because I had stayed there when I was a junior in high school. I'm pretty sure the rates have gone up. And I'm also pretty sure that I would not be able to afford going in the winter or the summer because those are their high times and the rooms are quite expensive. It is a 5-star hotel, but it was very interesting to find out the connection to the war, to then Memorial Day. I found that very, very interesting. Maybe another time we'll talk about Quebec City and the wonderful food and all that. And I will go on. Jill, are you ready to evaluate? Thank you.
Margot. Your speech was very interesting. I mean, who would have known that Gilligan's Island had lessons in leadership? But it was pretty good because you did find them and you told us about them. And Star Trek, yes, we can understand that one. NCIS, yeah. But Gilligan's Island, that was definitely a interesting example. And you explained some of these leadership styles very nicely and how one went the one way and one went another way. And then you talked about your band conductor, which I can imagine sitting in the back row and trying to see this stuff. Your closing at the end was wonderful. But there were some things in the middle that could stand for improvement. You have wonderful vocal variety, but you have a tendency to have almost a sing-song quality. I don't know how else to describe your voice. And that's your voice, but it's there. And it's there in whatever way your voice goes. So I'm not sure if you can adapt that. I don't think I probably could adapt to something like that at my age. So that probably isn't something, but your camera awareness. And I've heard this talked about to you before. You tended to look up, look around. You didn't look at the camera very much. And that's something you need to work on because it's very distracting watching you do a speech and having you look sideways or off in the distance. It doesn't matter if we are here in person or on camera. You need to look at the camera. But otherwise, your speech was very interesting. And how do we all do these continually the same speeches over and over again? Whenever you do a new path, you have to do the same speeches. So we're all adapting these, understanding your leadership styles to a new route. And you did a nice job on that. Thank you, Margot.
Thank you, Jill. We will now move on to Mike Licata, who will be evaluating. Nope, I got that wrong. Yes, who will be evaluating Marty Johnson. I look down.
Mr. Timer, before you start please pause from starting the time on my speech. I just want a quick aside. I don't know if she's still on, but Tracy Farrell, you're my favorite person right now, and here's why. My brother just recently bought a house, and I guess either you or your family reassessed it, and he had to go in front of the city board to get it lowered, so you wasted a lot of his time. So thank you very much. Really appreciate that. Marty's speech reminded me of that this morning, and after talking with him yesterday, you make me very happy because you wasted his time and you made him very upset. So good job. Okay. Get that off. I know. It's good stuff. Anyway, Mr. Timer, you can start the time now. Thank you, David. I appreciate your patience this morning. Good morning again, fellow Toastmasters, and especially David, or excuse me, especially Marty. Marty, you did a great job this morning. You presented a lot of information. One of the ways you get to persuade people to do things is when you're trying to sell somebody an idea in an argument, the way that you provided all this information through your experiences, you gave 3 tremendous examples this morning. Through your experiences, you talked with your friends and everything that you remembered. So you did a great job with that. The details helped when it comes to making an argument in a persuasive speech. Persuasive speaking is very difficult because you have this great presence. The old joke in sports is you can't teach size. So you have this great natural presence. I say this because you've worked in retail for most of your adult life. You haven't developed the forceful side of your personality. You have a natural conversation speaking tone. You're very easy to talk to. You're very good at presenting information. Where I want to see you develop as a speaker when it comes to your persuasive speaking style is be more forceful. Use more active verbs. I want to do this. This is the way to do it. Excuse me. Sorry. It gets your message across. It presents your ideas better. Being more and different people respond in different ways to people, a more forceful presence. And given your size and your experience in customer service and things like that, you can always use different situations to develop a more forceful side of your personality. You did a great job in the room. Your props were tremendous. They were simple, but you explained what you were looking for when it comes to developing ways to protect your investment when it comes to water damage. So I want to thank you again for the speech this morning. I know we all learned something, which is one of the many reasons we all come to Toastmasters, is because we need to learn. We look forward to everyone's speeches. I presented some different information, ways you can develop your speech, but it was a good job. And I want to again congratulate you on your another DTM and good luck going forward in Toastmasters. Madam Toastmaster.
Microphone is getting a lot of work today, up and down, up and down. So thank you very much. We will move on now to Mark Campos, who will be evaluating Sylvia. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and especially Sylvia. Once again, it was my privilege to evaluate Sylvia as she is learning to understand her leadership style. Sylvia, let's start out by saying you are an experienced and talented Toastmaster. As such, you should never allow yourself to feel, dare I say, intimidated by going up against a truly experienced icon in our club, Margot, who happened to be giving the same speech. You can think it, you don't have to say it, because that took away from what could have been a very powerful opening. But I want to start more about your strengths as a speaker. First of all, what I liked was your start, which should have been the start of your speech, the think fast, and I liked your conclusion to the speech. I thought you had very good pacing throughout your speech today. We think of vocal variety, we think volume. Vocal variety is more than volume. It manifests itself in changes of speed. So while this speech didn't necessarily lend itself to vocal variety changes in terms of volume, you're speeding up, slowing down, altered the pace, and kept our attention, which was very good. I thought you had good gestures throughout the speech. Your eye contact in the room was very good. More on that later. You had very little reliance on notes. To my eye, it appeared you were holding something in your hand that you didn't need, which was very impressive. You delivered the speech essentially by yourself without any reliance on notes. Also very impressive, I liked how you ignored distractions in the room. Those of you on Zoom can't hear it. There's a gymnasium upstairs. Someone was doing medicine ball slams and rapid fire. Sylvia did not blink. She kept on going, didn't acknowledge it. That was very impressive, very professional. Great job. Building upon these strengths, I think you could be even more effective in just a few ways. Make a little more eye contact with the camera. Let's not forget about those folks out there in Zoom. From a content perspective, I would have just liked to hear a little bit more about you personally, a little more about that leadership style that you landed on. Your title sounded very personal. The content of the speech was very much about others. Most of it was about others. And clearly making time, rehearse it a little bit, just edit down some of the anecdotes that you shared. But overall, I enjoyed the lessons that you learned throughout your 48-year career. You should retire soon. I hope you can. It's great. Trust me. I wouldn't lie to you. Those lessons learned by your managers or people you've been exposed to really resonated with me, because certainly throughout my career, only 36 years, mind you, I always took away lessons of what to do and also what not to do. Madam Toastmaster.
Sometimes it doesn't work as well going down. So anyways, we will continue on now to, timer again. David Jones, are you there?
Out of sight, out of mind. You forget about me.
No, I know.
All three qualified, Jill at 309, Mike at 238, and Mark at 317. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. So if you could vote for the evaluators, that would be good. And online, Nancy Ferry, you are our general evaluator, correct? Oh, you're muted.
Working on it. I couldn't find my face to unmute it, right? Okay. So I would like to report on a few things. First of all, the evaluators, fabulous job. I love to hear evaluations. I always learn more. Jill, your evaluation, you remind Margot how prepared she was and had her information. Let me see, what else did I write? Oh, okay, you praised her. You used the word, you said you did well in something, but don't use the word but because it just takes away from the positiveness of what you just said. So, and is a much better word. And I lost the sound in the middle of your evaluation, so I can't be as thorough as I would like, but I did hear you use a lot of positives, and you shared how she could how how Margot could improve. Mike Licata, you used the sandwich approach, very positive and insightful. You gave suggestions of ways to develop better presentations, being more, encouraged Marty to be more forceful. And like I said, it was sandwich, well done. Appreciated your technique for evaluating. And Mark, another great sandwich approach. Excellent advice, empowering Sylvia. I think that's one of the most important things that we can do is empower each other. You used, you build it. You built on her strengths and gave her advice to improve future speeches. All three evaluators, I think, met time. I'm not sure, but great job. A few other things, just about the flow of the meeting. Kate, you started right on time, and it was just perfect. Um, let's see. Oh, and Beth, you don't have to comment every time you change the lectern microphone because we all appreciate diversity and not all of us are the same height. And it just reminds me that we are all different sizes, we're different shapes, we're different everything, we different speakers. So it's okay. We love you. Tabletop's introduction was smooth, Steve. Uh, Great job introducing the table topics. Some things that they suggest in meetings that for Toastmasters is we should do the 3 E's: educate, elevate, and entertain. And I think all 3 criteria were met this morning. Very educational. The Toastmaster, some very educational things piqued our interest in. And you also started immediately. That's all and did a good job of guarding the lectern, except I'm not sure about whether somebody was at the lectern during Margot's speech because I'm on Zoom and I can't tell that. But from what I saw and what I experienced today, I appreciate all the smooth transitions. With that, I'll pass back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
All right. Thank you very much. That really concludes the, oh, we have reports. We have, let's see now. Oh, our WAG master, who includes our master. If you two could come up, let us know how we did.
Oh, it's right at my height. And I will move it. I'll try to be quick because I see we're running low on time. So one of the things I noticed in general, first of all, most people did use either souvenir or remember. So that was good. There are a couple that didn't, but I won't even go there. For the thing I noticed is that people tend to miss words. Or add words that don't need to be there. And I'll just give a few quick examples. Could stand for improvement. So adding the word for in that sentence is actually grammatically incorrect. It could stand improvement or it could use improvement. One of the main things that water can damage your home, one of the things is that water can damage your home. Sorry, there's my ums, and Mary can just keep track, keep adding them right there. Wanted kids have a safe place. Wanted kids to have a safe place. She has the fortunate, and there was, I don't know what fortunate what, because nothing came after the word fortunate. So she had the good fortune to work with Kelly. So that is the one thing I noticed, that we're dropping words, cause instead of because. There were a few good things. Dave Licata said they were the first to raise their hand. I love that. So they volunteered to have the Memorial Day, and they were the first to raise their hand. And I just love that phrase. Margot said, I was a freight train, and I can so totally relate to that statement, and it really resonated with me. And Crack Like a Z in Led Zeppelin, of course, probably most of you know that I love music. And so that was a good visual for me. I think I'll leave it at that. I'm going to turn this over to Mary to tell you how many extra words you used.
Yeah, actually. So Nancy used one, Carol Ann used three, Joe used one, Marty used one, Sylvia used four, and Maggie just used two.
Another personal best.
You did good, Maggie.
Oh, let's see now. What else do we have? Our quiz master. Are you ready to quiz us, Mike Florio?
Here we go. Yes, Madam Toastmaster, I am ready to quiz. Now, the next time I'm tailgating on the QEW and I see Jamais Savion on a license plate, what is it referring to? Oh, I can't hear people. I'm sorry.
They are saying, I remember.
There you go. And okay, this one's tough. Whose birthday is it today?
Steve Smith.
Happy birthday, Steve. Now, the meetings held in Quebecois, what were the two names of the meetings that were held there, the secret meetings? The first one?
Oh, Maggie got it very quickly. Quadrant and octagon.
Octagon. Thank you very much. And who were some of the participants there? There were four?
William Lyon Mackenzie. Okay, see, she knows the name. I couldn't figure out what the names they were saying. Too many reporters apparently did not pay attention to that. So very good. Winston Churchill, FDR.
The last two are
The
King?
Major General something Kate's Earl.
All right. Dave Licata, what does every Italian have in their garage? I didn't know this. I'm going to have to get one.
Traverna.
Yes, a bar.
Traverna bar. Yep.
I have to remember that. I'll work on that. Let's see. Carol Ann, who normally handles all the parties for Memorial Day for her?
Her daughter.
Her daughter. Joe didn't win anything here on Friday, but where did he go?
Casino.
Casino Royale. Yes. Let's see. We'll move on to leadership styles. Mine are like kind of the Flintstones, Fred and Barney. I think that those could be mine. But what are four of the televised leadership styles that Margot enjoys? Actually, 3.
Gilligan's
3.
Island, NCIS.
And the last one was Lead from Behind, but
Okay,
that
lead
was
from behind.
not really a television show. So it's more like 3. Let's see. Marty, I have a love-hate relationship with water. I really do. I like to drink water, of course, and most people do. And my coffee has water in it. But I am right there with you, Marty, with the damage that water can do and how expensive it is, even. What are the Marty gave a couple suggestions as to how we can help with the water situation and the damage. What were a couple of the suggestions?
Extend your downspouts to get water far from the house, and caulking.
Caulk, yes, those are the 2. And then we come to Sylvia. There were 2 things that stood out with me that Sylvia said that were a very good style for a leader. And one of her previous bosses told her that there were 2 things. Do we remember that you could be?
What can I do to help? Instead of I need. And yes, at the end, she says, stay out of the hospital, stay out of
No, not that one. No, nope.
burning
We're
style.
coming to that one.
Okay.
But it was dependable and available. Those were the 2 key elements I got out of her speech that I thought were something that were very important
good.
and available.
All right.
And then let's see, the last 3 that Sylvia mentioned to stay out of, which, I kind of had a tough time staying out of those 3.
You're in jail a lot?
No. Okay, so jail was one.
Yes. Stay out of the hospital and the newspaper.
The newspaper, yeah. I mean, good things in the newspaper, but bad things. That's all I have, Madam Toastmaster. Thank you all very much.
Very much. Okay, we have winners. We have to draw and we have to close our meeting. So
Best table topics today is Carol Ann Halstead. Carol. Thank you.
our best evaluator today is Mark Campos.
And our best speaker, Margot Bittner. Beth will draw 50-50 in Margot's absence.
Okay. The last 3 numbers are 953. Mark won. Very good. Thank you. Okay. And I will turn it over.
Thank you, Beth. Thank you very much. Excellent meeting. I hear that Eric Schneider has an announcement. Eric?
Yes, Marty, good morning, everybody. Sorry I was late. A little crazy here at work, but we're all right. Kate, thank you for announcing all of the announcements because I ran late this morning. So thank you for covering all of that. But I just wanted to remind for officers, we are going to do one final officer meeting on June 23rd. And that's going to be for the new incoming officers and the outgoing officers. We're going to be meet at Panera at 6:30, if I remember correctly, because we wanted to have a smooth transition. And also next weekend is the club officer training. And forgot it's a Tuesday, one on Zoom. So if anybody wants to jump onto that, they're more than welcome to. But and that's all I have. But thank you, Kay, for doing all the announcements since I completely forgot to come on bright and early, but I'm at work. So, but hope everybody has a good day. Back to you, Marty.
Thank you, Eric. Probably the most important, if not the most important announcement of the day, we're welcoming a new member to our club. Yang Q. Yang, welcome. Would you like to share a few words, Yang?
I'm so glad I can come back, and I hope I can learn how to be a bad speech like, yeah, communicator.
Excellent. We look forward to you joining us in person as soon as your schedule allows, and when you feel comfortable, we'll get you scheduled for your icebreaker, and we'll be in touch. We look forward to seeing you again. Welcome.
Oh, thank you.
I have no further announcements unless someone else does. Anyone else? Kate, Sylvia will be contacting everyone next week. Any other announcements? Meeting adjourned. Have a great day.